Hi guys, in this lecture we are going to learn to make our own BLE beacon and that will be using the Find Me profile. But first of all you will have to download this app named the CY Smart is this one CY Smart. Okay, then I'll show you what the project it is first of all. So I just reset in my board. Now what I do, I open my CY Smart app. I can find this particular beacon here. This beacon is nothing but my PSoC is advertising. This is my PSoC 4 BLE chip. This chip is advertising through this microstrip antenna and then I am receiving it here. So I touch on beacon and I don't go to GATDB initially. We'll see to it later on. First I go to Find Me and then I select an alert level, say no alert. You can see the green LED turning on. I change the alert level to high alert. The red LED turns on. And then I change it to mid alert. Okay. So as in how I change my alert level, the LED color changes. This is what we are going to do in our project. So let's get started. Now that we know what our aim is, let's just get started with the project. So what do? We click on File, New and Project. Now, while making the project, just don't go ahead and make your project like you did for the earlier cases. Here, you will have to make sure that you select PSoC 4100 BLE / PSoC 4200 BLE design. By selecting this, we are just ensuring that the default template that we are going to use for PSoC has the BLE component. Now let's just name it. I'm going to name it as BLE underscore beacon and say if you want you can browse and store it to another folder. You just click here and browse and say OK. So now what do you think are the basic steps of making any design? First we have the schematic. So we take our components, we place them in the schematic, we configure the components, then we assign the pins. If we are using pins, we assign the pins to certain numbers. Now since we are using the LEDs, we will have to assign our pins to the LEDs. And then we write the code, build and then debug. Okay, so let's get started. First, what we'll do, we'll start with a simple thing. We'll take the LEDs. We want LEDs, right? 3 LEDs. That is red, green and blue. So we will need digital output pins. So in ports and pins, I select digital output pin and just drag and place it here. I'm going to use all 3 LEDs, red, green and blue. So I will be needing 3 pins. So I'll just drag and place the pins. Alright, I'll just zoom the schematic a bit. Yeah, it looks fine. Now, before taking a BLE component, let's just configure these pins. So we'll double click and I say this is R. Instead of writing red completely, I'm just saying it is R. Here there should be no hardware connection. Let the drive mode be strong drive and initial state keep it as high. That's it, no more changes required. Similarly, this is going to be G. Instead of green, it's just G. No hardware, high. And say OK. And blue, that is B. Cut. Play and say OK. Now what we'll do, we will select our BLE component. So where do you think you'll find it? Yes, in communications. So inside the communications tab, you can see this first one, Bluetooth low energy, that is BLE. So we are going to select and just place it here. This is our BLE component. Now what we'll do, like we configured our ADC, we'll have to configure our BLE component. And which reference are we going to take? Of the previous lecture. I hope you remember about the profile, the characteristics, the services. All that is going to be applied here. So just double click and let's see. So let the name be as it is. In general, profile. Now what profile do we have? You remember I told you all there are some profiles which are made by SIG and we can just select amongst them. Find Me is one such, but others which you can see are blood pressure, glucose, heat thermometer, heart rate measuring, right? So we're going to select Find Me. Then the profile role. There is a role for every profile. So the role of our profile is going to be that it will be the target. Since this code will be put into the PSoC board, and what we are doing, our mobile will send some data to our PSoC. So the PSoC is the server, hence the target, and the gap role will be the peripheral, right? Then make sure that you have ticked this use deep sleep mode. This is what differentiates BLE from the conventional Bluetooth. That is, when the device is transmitting information, it uses a lot of power. But what happens when it is not transmitting any information, or it is not letting anyone find it? What in that case? Is it required that the device should be on? No, it can sleep during that time, right? So that is why we have this deep sleep mode. Then let's jump to gap settings first. We'll come to profiles later on. Now, in the Generals tab, make sure that you select this silicon generated company assigned part of device address. Then give your device a name. So since this is our beacon, I'll just say it is beacon. You can give any other name. You can give your own name too. Appearance. When you connect your headphones, you get something like the name of the headphones, that is Sony, just an example, Sony, and down there you will find headphones. So headphones is the appearance. When you have your speakers connected, you have like say JBL speakers. So in appearance you can select among any of these, but since it is just a Find Me profile, so we'll select the generic tag, the basic one. Okay, now let's go to advertisement settings. In advertisement settings, now what is this? First of all, in the peripheral role, our device is the peripheral, so it will be advertising packets, correct? Now, at what rate will it advertise the packets? How is it going to advertise a packet? What is it going to send in the advertisement packet? Then, if you remember, there are two ways of advertising and pairing. First would be start pairing directly, and the second is when the central asks for more information. In such a time, the peripheral sends a scan response packet. So all these things need to be configured, and we are going to configure them here. So we are going to begin with advertisement setting. Like how do we want to advertise? How does the PSoC 4 BLE advertise itself? So discovery mode, let's just keep it general. You can keep it non-discoverable or limited, but we'll just keep it general. Okay, advertisement type. You have certain types. You want it to be connectable and unidirected advertising. You can have scannable and non-connectable. Now what is the difference? Like why would one have non-connectable or just scannable advertising? We are going to keep connectable. I'll explain you why. suppose you are in a seminar and you want to count the number of people present. So you can just ask them, everyone will have a phone, definitely, a smartphone. So you can just ask them to turn on their devices and you can just scan all the devices which are there. You don't need to connect to every device, right? So the number of devices that you get, you will get the head count. Correct? You don't need to count manually. You can do like this. So in such a situation, you just need a scannable device. You don't need a connectable device. Okay? Let's go to the next one. Filter policy. Let it be as it is. Advertising channels. Let it be. We are not going to change that. Then advertising interval. Now what is this? Now how does the BLE actually advertise? It sends some packets of information are just thrown in the air. So how does it happen? So you have one packet with certain information. That information will be, say, the name of the device and anything you want to advertise. For us, the name will be enough, right? So we are just going to advertise the name. So the first advertisement packet is made and it is transmitted. Now, the second advertisement packet has to be made and transmitted. You can't just transmit one. Suppose you turn on your PSoC before you turn on your phone Bluetooth, right? So in such a case, if the PSoC sends only one packet, it will be lost. You need to advertise continuously. So you send one advertisement packet, wait for some time, send another advertisement packet, wait for some time. So this is fast advertising interval. Minimum time is in milliseconds, which is 20 milliseconds. Now what does this mean? I send my first advertisement packet, I wait for minimum time of 20 milliseconds and I send another advertisement packet. Okay. So I cannot send a packet anytime less than 20 milliseconds. So if I send a first advertisement packet and 15 milliseconds are passed and I send another advertisement packet, no, that is not allowed. The minimum time here defines what is the minimum interval of sending the advertisement packet. Maximum will be the maximum advertising time. So we will be sending our packet somewhere between 20 and 30 milliseconds. Okay. And then there is this timeout. Timeout is 30 seconds. So what is going to happen once we turn on a PSoC board? It is going to advertise the packets for 30 seconds and then stop advertising. This is what saves energy, right? Okay, so this is the fast advertising mode. Similarly, we have a slow advertisement mode. We are only going to use the fast advertisement mode as of now. And these all parameters are not really required at our level. Let's go to advertisement packet. Now we have been talking about this packet that we want to advertise every now and then. But what do you want to send in the packet? The local name, of course. What if we don't send the local name? You can see this is the local name that will be sent. If we just not send the local name, you will just find the device as some unidentified Bluetooth device. You can untick the local name and check what happens, but we need to send the name at least. Okay, remaining things, yes, you can send, but they aren't really required. Then let's go to scan response packet. In scan response packet, now in our case, the central will not ask for any scan response packet. But you remember, just in case the central asks, we can send a blank scan response packet too. So we don't need to select anything here. Just leave it blank. Let's go to next one, that is security. Okay, now there were certain modes of secure connection. They were authentication and encryption. I hope you remember them. So there were three types, right? First was no authentication and no encryption. Second one was authentication not there, but encryption will be there. Third one is authentication and encryption. So You can see these modes in the security level. And you know what those modes mean, right? So we will just select no authentication, no encryption. We don't want our data to be secured. I mean, it's fine if someone hacks right now, but then you should know what all these mean. Then in pairing methods, just works. Bonding required. Yes, bonding is required. So after we pair, there should be connection maintained. Right now, let's go to the profiles. You can find this find me profile. Find me target is something. Then you have generic access. So you see some letters here, P, R, S, C. Now these letters are nothing but P stands for profile, R will be the role of the profile, S is the service, and C is the characteristics. So this is the role. So we'll just click on the services first, the generic access and generic attribute. You remember I told you these two services are mandatory and will be present for every profile as they provide service to the gap and GAT layers, that is the generic access profile and the generic attribute profile. And this is our immediate alert profile. Whatever we are going to do with our code, the main job of this beacon is stored here in the immediate alert service. So, did you notice one thing? Generic access has a certain UID. Generic attribute also has a certain UID, UUID, and immediate alert. All these services have their unique universal identification numbers, and you can see them here. So let's just go through every characteristic and see. In generic access, that is gap service, we have the device name, the length, type, everything. So reading is mandatory. Writing, well, see now our app is going to read the name. Do we want to override the name? Do we want our app to override it? No, we don't want to do that. So we are going to keep it blank. We don't want to write another name. Appearance is the generic tag. Peripheral is not really required at our level. Then these services, see, you can see read is mandatory and to indicate is mandatory. But in permissions, if you see the write permission, even if you wish to click on it, you cannot, because it is allowed that we can accept data, like the PSoC can accept data from the phone, but the phone cannot overwrite any existing data. So now let's go to immediate alert. Select primary in it. Service type will be primary and go to alert level. In alert level, just see the type of alert level is uint8. That is, it is an 8-bit integer. So all the information regarding our alert levels is stored here. Another thing that I want you all to know is, when you all saw the project, it had these levels: no alert, mid alert, and high alert. But there you also saw something known as the GAT DB. Now what is that? Instead of passing now the alert levels directly, you can pass numbers. No alert is fixed at 0, mid alert is at 1, and high alert is at 2. So if you pass a number 1, which means you're saying there is a mid alert. All this has just been converted and made into a different profile altogether, and we had it in our app. So we're going to do it in both ways after we finish writing the code. Okay? And just say okay here. Here we are done with configuring our BLE. Now let's go to the CYDWR and mark the pins and ports. So let's see. Blue Blue is connected to pin number 3.7. So I'll go and select 3.7. Green is connected to 3.6. So I'll select 3.6. And red is connected to pin 2.6. Now where did I get this information from? Two ways. One, datasheet. Second, on the board you can find where it is written. Okay, we've assigned this. Now let us just save all the information. With this, we've set the project. All the settings are done. And the only thing that remains is the main code. So we'll start writing the main code in the next lecture.